All right, Maya. So training camp is rapidly approaching and is really on upon us right now, which is really exciting, and especially with a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who are gearing to make another attempt at a Super Bowl run this offseason. They've locked up some of their key players. Obviously, they traded away Tyreek Hill, but they made a number of key moves this offseason. One move that didn't go particularly well is the potential long-term deal involving Orlando Brown and then the whole situation there with the long-term contract for Brown. And I've got a little bit of the story there. But before we get into that, Chiefs fans, while we're talking offensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs, let us know in the comments below, who's your favorite Chiefs offensive lineman of all time? I personally am a Will Shields guy myself, but maybe there's somebody else on that list. Let us know in the comments below. But this is according to the Kansas City Star. The Chiefs put the franchise tag on Brown, which means he'd be paid $16.7 million for the upcoming season. But Brown hasn't signed that tender, and he and the Chiefs failed to reach an agreement on a long-term contract before last Friday's deadline. After the deadline passed, it was reported that the Chiefs offered Brown $91 million over 5 years. The NFL Network's Mike Garofalo said that included a 6-year at more than $40 million to, quote, strictly inflate the average annual value to the top of the market. Brown obviously did not sign that deal. And according to NFL Network's Jeffrey Chedia, quote, there was frustration, there was disappointment from the Kansas City Chiefs. They really like Orlando Brown and they love having him be a part of the team, but the money he was asking for was too high for him. They feel like they don't want to not have stability at left tackle here. They also don't want to pay over the top, pay top of the market money for a player they don't think is the best player at his position in the NFL. All right, Maya. So all that's saying is that Orlando Brown is not at Chiefs training camp. There's a lot of frustration going on, and whether or not he's going to be with the Chiefs long term or even short term. What do you think of the deal with the Browns and the Chiefs right here?
I think is a very interesting move, and I think the Chiefs almost kind of have planned for this to happen in a way, not planning that it's something that they were looking forward to happen, but they have a contingency plan in place in case Brown decides to leave them next year or this year if they have to trade him. Who knows what the deal is going to be. But let's just touch on that. Last year, Brown's PFF grade was decent. He graded a 75. Obviously, he's a little bit better pass blocker than a run blocker last season. Was not too bad in the penalty department. He had 7, which is kind of a lot, but not horrible. He only allowed 4 sacks, which also not horrible, but he just didn't strike me as like top tier market resetting kind of play last year, and that's what he wants. Obviously, coming out of Baltimore, moved from right tackle, covered over to left tackle, got traded to the Saints because he said he wanted to be a left tackle. He wants that left tackle money, but obviously not signing his tender and not signing the big time deal. He's wanting more, especially more than the Chiefs want to give them. And that brings in comes Darian Kinnard, the Chiefs draft pick this year. This is a guy out of Kentucky, I believe, who really we liked coming into the draft. He's a mauler. He's a physical specimen, just kind of like a beast of a man. He can come in here and light some guys up. He has all the tools to be a big-time NFL tackle. And I think if this guy develops, this is going to be a silver lining, so to speak, for the Chiefs this season. What do you think?
Yeah, so, obviously you and I have been very high on Kinnard, and we actually compared him to Orlando Brown when we were evaluating him after the draft, and what a good fit for him was the fact that Kinnard would play potentially opposite of Brown at the tackle position in Kansas City. What I love here about the Chiefs is you see this from a lot of winning organizations that have sustained periods of success. The Patriots, the Ravens, the Steelers. They always seem to never put themselves in a position where they're forced to overpay for a guy. Obviously, they like Orlando Brown. He's a good player. He's a good young player. Left tackle is obviously a vital position, especially when you got like Patrick Mahomes protecting his blind side. That's, of course, it's critical. But they can't hamstring themselves so much the fact if they overpay for a guy like Brown, because obviously you're going to start seeing Pat Mahomes' cap hit get bigger and bigger. I think this year it's $35 million. Next year it's $45 million. It's going to stay around that level for year after year after year. They're not going to have a lot of cap space to make bigger moves, especially as they try and rebuild that team as it gets a little older at certain positions. So they can't afford to lock up and overpay for a guy like Brown. So how do you avoid situations like that? You get a guy like Kinnard, right? A guy who, by all accounts, was a great football player at Kentucky, but he just didn't have the right measurables. Maybe his body didn't look right, didn't run a good shuttle. Maybe his knee bend wasn't perfect. So he kind of fell in the draft, but he's a great football player. And this two things can happen. One, Kinnard can slide in and compete at left tackle, and maybe the Chiefs can be like, hey, this guy's pretty good. Maybe he's even better or just as good as Brown. We don't even need to let Brown stay unsigned. We don't even want him. Or he does just enough to play good that Orlando Brown starts seeing that, noticing it off the sign, and says, hey, I need to show up to camp. I need to be there because I'm about to lose my spot. So again, this is what the Chiefs and good franchises do, is they kind of give themselves backup plans and contingencies so that way they don't have to overpay for players at certain positions.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I think it's real smart move like the Chiefs have made, like we said. And I think everything you said is exactly right as far as prepping for the future. Patrick Mahomes cap hit, it's not getting any smaller. So I'm excited to see if this starts a training camp battle to watch. Obviously, I don't think Kinnard's going to come in and overpower Brown as far as like competing with him for that spot, but he might do good enough where, like you said, Brown says, hey, this guy could take my spot if I don't come in, if I don't play, and he could be serviceable enough where they let me walk. I want to get any money that I can, so I'm going to come in and do my part, and I think this is a really smart move by the Chiefs. All right, Nick, it's time to get your internet privacy back today on every device you own in any country you want. Don't let anyone but you control your internet. NordVPN keeps you safe from prying eyes wherever you go online with their military-grade encryption. Is your favorite Netflix or streaming content blocked in the US? You can simply connect to one of the many countries available with NordVPN and get the access you need.
That's right, Maya. So right now, get our exclusive NordVPN deal here at nordvpn.com/SMI. It's risk-free now with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, get that exclusive deal, nordvpn.com/SMI.